Good evening, I guess. I wanted to say good afternoon. I have the dog again, so, well, that's probably relevant. I brought over one of those like Wi Fi towers, whatever they're called, here upon my family's instruction, and we'll see if tonight will be okay, will be better. It's literally right there on my desk. Tonight, if we feel like it, if it's not too long, I'm going to go, if it feels right, I'm going to go also into the Oliver Stone topic that I wanted to talk about. I also realize I've kind of really not covered anything other than the kid situation around Blake Lively situation. Um, I don't know. I feel like I kind of not burned out. Well, maybe burned out on it. And tonight also, it's more like just dark. Not dark in like soul darkness, but dark as in like a chill darkness. Like a, well, that's not even better. English language. I wanted to look really quickly and see if there's anything. There's so many things, but there's nothing new except for as far as this. There's only this that's new since yesterday, 2 days ago, yesterday. And I think people have talked about it, right? As far as something about like, I don't know, it's like Joan's work finally comes into the picture. And before that, this is that too. I have not looked at one of these. I really just didn't really feel like looking at them. When they were coming out, it was interesting, but then after that, it was just too much. Too much. So, as always, if you're watching this on replay and you enjoy it, click like, yes, and subscribe. But not as always, as more recently, drop a dolphin in the comment section. If you don't enjoy it, let me know why. I genuinely ask that because I want to know how I could potentially improve. And yeah, let's get into it. Oh, and watch Paradise, show of the week. Other than that, there's nothing that's like, you know, pressing as far as intro kind of thing. I do like to do, sorry, I'm trying to do my best as far as, I know it's such a bad framing. It's bothering me, but I've not been able to even change this. Like if this goes over here, because it's harder for me to be like to be here, but this would work. Um yeah, it's bothering me more than you probably. It's really bothering me, but it's okay. I have done this so many weeks like this. But yeah, I'm thinking I'm oh gosh, I don't know. I'm thinking of doing a vlogging series again and catch up on life and thoughts and things that are outside covering stuff that other people do. I know, no one's interested so much in my life. Maybe like my opinions or something. I don't really know who's watching, why they're watching, except for the people in the chat usually, because I asked you and you responded. But yeah, you guys on the replay that you keep coming back, what do you enjoy about this? I really like, I'll make a community post. I would love to find a way for it to be anonymous so none of you feel like you have to be exposed and you can say whatever you want. But I really would love to know what you like about this channel, about me, about these videos, what you don't like, um, what you would like instead. Excuse me. Things like that. It gives me like a toolbox of things that I could like explore. Gosh, I hate every time when like my elbow like goes misses the armrest or whatever. But yeah, and then yeah, so I'm thinking of exploring. I'm exploring the idea of a vlogging series, just another month of vlogs or something. Maybe not every day, and just yeah, more personal exploration. And then I yeah, I mean, I kind of like to say something, but that's kind of if I decide to go with the vlogs, I'll like explore that topic there because yeah. Um. Anyways, so let's get into it. Last night, it was rough. It was rough, and it's not that much better right now. I mean, I don't know. It's there's no errors, but I look at the kilobytes per second, and it's abysmal. It's red, and then dropped frames and all. But we'll see. I mean, it's something to try. Let's get into the Army Hammer mom episode podcast of his mom and him talking about stuff. Um, yeah, I don't know. I it's this one is really. I keep going back and forth in my head. Like, do I want to like make this into a video? Do I want this out there? Do I not? It's I don't have like a whoa moment. I don't think so. I don't remember. I don't have like something that's like earth shattering that I felt or that I heard or anything like that. Um, it was just very interesting to me. But it's such a different content, such a different content because so far I've been covering this Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni thing, and it's always like with an opinion where one person is wrong or one person is in the wrong or it's a mystery to solve. So I think that's maybe why also it feels very odd to just talk about two people talking with each other. And then the other layer of this is family. And it feels weird. It feels weird to talk about family talking with each other. I don't know. It's so weird. I don't know. I don't know. But I have a lot of notes. Sorry, my eye. I think I scratched my eye when I was taking out my contact lens. Hi, P. Hi, welcome. I was just getting started um, with the mom episode. But yeah, so yeah, I was just saying, like, I think it's maybe that's why I feel it's not necessarily uncomfortable, but like, it just doesn't feel as natural as talking about Blake Lively or Justin Baldoni or even Armie Hammer by himself or someone else. But let's get into it and see. Maybe I have some things that are like, whoa, yeah, I forgot I wrote that. Oh, I forgot that moment. Um, I mean, I feel strong enough to have taken notes and wanted to talk about this. So, point number one. um, yeah, I think they start with her giving him a Bible or him saying that kind of establishing what the podcast is or what this episode is about. This, not to us, but to her, to his mom, and mentions it is a lot of this goes back to religion. I'm going to use the word religion, but yeah, religion. I feel awkward because I want to respect her, her take on she does not like religion, and so I don't know. But anyways, um, and I was saying yesterday, and I think you guys heard me, but I don't know what happened. I was freezing and all over the place, and I was flustered. Um, I don't understand this having, purchasing, gifting, whatever, multiple Bibles. Because my understanding is there's one Bible, and especially if it's not even like multiple Bibles from multiple what are those called? Like different types of Christianity. um, and it's just like Catholic Bibles. I mean, they all say the same thing. I don't really understand it. I understand some people have referred to, oh, because they're pretty. She says that every Bible that she's given him come from like sentimental places. Like the one that she, I guess, handed to him when they saw each other for this episode. Let me pull up also the episode screenshot at least. That one was, I don't know, they know. But someone that they knew, that he knew, that she knew, that something family, something or another. And so, okay. But yeah, oh, that's an interesting one. So my like face is covering, wait, sorry. Where is my window? There we go. I'll just I'll just be right here in the middle. There we go. This is awkward. Okay, but anyway, so um this is an interesting placement for anything. They start out with that. My question, I've been given a Bible. I respected the sentiment, but that's as far as it went because I felt, I mean, to be honest, I felt disrespected for someone who doesn't know me. This is not the case, but for my personal story, someone who doesn't really know me, who should get to know me because of the circumstance. And they just gave me a Bible for my birthday or Christmas or something. And it felt disrespectful because it's not my religion and not, it's like imposing. And I find that with gifts in general, if you gift someone what you like, it's not really a gift for them, I feel. And we all make that mistake. Sometimes you just have no idea and you're like, well, I have no idea, but I like this. Hopefully they'll like it. But that's a different sentiment than like, they will like this or they have to like this or I want them to like this because I like it. And this actually is a theme between the two of them, kind of, throughout this whole thing regarding this whole religion and Bibles and everything. Um, I just noticed, is that like, wait, I can't zoom in. Is that like a little mini sword under the table there? All right. So then I wrote point number 2. I'm not gonna be this robotic, but until I get into it, because again, this is such a different topic and such a different thing, and I'm like flowing when I write this or when I watch this. Um, oh yeah, this I also kind of said yesterday when I was flustering and on and off. I can understand the desire to scream something you believe in, at like scream at the top of your lungs for everyone to hear and teach everyone about it or like introduce everyone about it because you believe in it so much. But I learned, I guess, with my last few years, apparently that's what I wrote, whether real or not, or life changing or not, or if it's right for them or not, people are not going to appreciate being educated at. And oftentimes with religion, not always. And this is the thing, it's not always and it's not everyone. And it's not about religion even. It doesn't matter what religion you are or what you believe in. Or if it's not religion at all, if it's politics, if it's like I was saying yesterday, for me it's therapy and all that stuff. It's how you say it and it's where in the your center it's coming from. And such a big topic. Yeah, mini sword. I don't think that's what you call it technically. I don't think that's a technical term for it, but that's what I, right? I know it's kind of hard to see and I can't really, maybe if I, oh, this is going to mess everything up. See over there? Isn't that like a mini sword thingy? That's what it looks like to me. Crap. And now I can't undo this. Wait. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Undo works on this software. Um, what is not really in the picture, I don't know if he literally took them out, but she refers to how he has like a mini Buddha or like different Hindu, different little mini things or sculptures or whatever's, and how she felt offended by that. Or it didn't, forget what, maybe I wrote it down. Like it hurt her. Yeah, because I understand the sentiment. Like she's his son, he's her son. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. It's been a day. He's her son. Um, and sometimes parents, or maybe all the time parents, have some sort of like, well, you're of me, and you're kind of, it's not even about representing the parent, but you want the best for your children, and if you think what you think is the best and you aren't open and you truly believe, like she does, that those are not the best, then it hurts you. You want your like child to be safe. So I understand it coming from there. Um, but going into what I was saying, um, my take on um, preaching, so to speak, is it's hard for me to explain, but I've seen people talk about what they believe in, again, whether it's religion or politics or whatever it is, in a way where, sorry, that little bar is like really bothering me, in a way where you are curious, you feel safe. You don't feel like they're bulldozing you with it and like you have no choice. And that is really hard to do. And you end up getting curious, and it doesn't really change your mind, but that's a lot more likely to change your mind. Um, And I also believe that at the end of the day, it's probably something of everything. And I do like what I've just briefly learned about the Baha'i faith. Like, I really like that idea that all really, I mean, and this is something that I always felt anyways, all religions are the same religion. And it was also kind of doubled down on that by the priest in my Catholic high school. That priest, because I've mentioned him before, he was darn right cool. He was like a visionary, or whatever you call those people that are ahead of their time. So yeah, it was interesting. Um, but yeah, anyways, moving on to this stuff. Um what did I say? It was interesting. Sorry, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, Arena, what did you even start talking about? What are you talking? Just move on, keep going. Just say anything. We don't remember. Okay. I think this is a quote from her, that you can never have too many Bibles. And yeah, okay, I thought I had written this later on, but I said, oh, this will be a tough episode to watch. Um, it wasn't as tough as I thought it would be. It got more interesting, and yeah, but it, yeah. Again, let me know in the comments or chat. P, you're the only one here today, I think. But let me know, anyone. And I think when I ask questions, because when I was asking about Anora on TikTok, people got like really defensive sometimes, not always. But I think when I ask questions, because it is coming from like, I don't get it, and I judge it probably deep down. But well, and I also told you my opinion, but I do actually want to understand people's opinions that buy multiple Bibles, want gift, etc. Like why? Besides like, cuz they're like prettier or like more interesting, different designs. Cuz that's not where she was coming from. So why do you buy multiple Bibles if you do, or if you know someone who does, why do they? Um okay. anyways, so they talk briefly about the documentary. I forget the name of the documentary, but with that aunt, I think Casey was her name, maybe. Oh no, or maybe that, because that's like the name of a character in Wings. So I'm doubting myself, but that is his aunt. Yes, and apparently she sued them. It kind of gave me a little bit of like Meghan Markle, Meghan Sus, whatever. Um, um, that kind of family dynamic, except it seems like with only one person, which is this aunt, apparently, who didn't agree with the way that their father, his grandfather, like divided things to his children after he passed away. So that's what they claim. I don't know the full story. This is her story, their story. But yeah, then they get into a really cool. I mean, I'll give it to the miracle that she mentioned. It is a miracle for me. It's like, wow, what, like, fate. That's what I would say. But the story of his mom, of Armie Hammer's mom, and dad meeting was like a movie. It's a romantic movie. Is she a theologian, Bible collector? No. She says, I think she refers to herself as an evangelist. I thought that was just a type of Christian. But like she was saying something that like she was put on this planet to basically convert people, even though he used that word, she did not like the use of that word. um but yeah, so that's like her job, kind of her career, her, not job, but like her career, her aspiration, not aspiration because she's doing it, but you know what I mean. Like, that's her purpose. That's what she does with her life, outside of like work and things. I don't know how to describe this. Um so I don't think that's the same thing of what you're asking. You mean Megan's father's side because we don't know anything dysfunctional about her mother's. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. Yeah. Cuz it was like her, was it stepsister or half sister on her dad's side, and the dad and everything. Yeah, Megan's. Um so yeah. So the story. Watch this video for the story. But basically, oh gosh, I wanna let you watch the whole video. Yeah, because it's a little longer the way that she goes into it. But I'll give you the like quick points. But really, oh gosh, I'm so torn now because like I want to take it away from her because it's such a cool story. But um, I guess the one part that was interesting, unrelated to the story of how they met, just know it's like a romantic comedy moment, meet cute all the way, all that stuff. Um, the interesting part that's like present, she starts talking about the story, and she talks about how she had a tennis partner that she wasn't really serious with. Like, he liked her more than she liked him, and but they were also tennis partners, etc. And they were, I don't know where, and they were traveling. They were getting on a plane to travel back, and Army has like an interesting insight. Apparently, that guy was the cousin of the lawyer who represented him or something. I think he said who got him out of jail, or like out of going to jail. I don't know, something. Because I wrote jail here. And I was like, and this happens quite a lot in these story, in like this podcast. There's quite a few moments like, how that is definitely the universe conspiring, for these people, or God working, or whatever, however you want to say it. I take the, what was that book? Oh gosh, Paulo Coelho. Oh gosh, The Alchemist. The Alchemist. I like those kind of phrases. The universe conspiring to help you on your path. Your personal, gosh, I need to reread that book. But yeah, I thought that was like really interesting. I'm also finding out that this is really hard to like to go through what happened. I feel so self-conscious right now. Anyways, um and she didn't know this. She finds out on here. But that is like crazy cool. That's like, how does that happen? Cuz they didn't know about this until like after. Um yeah. Um, oh, and then when she started talking about how she and his dad met, I was like, I had that feeling too, Drew. I forgot her name. Yeah, it's Drew. But it's not always the right feeling. It's not always, I don't know. It's not always that. They got engaged though in 3 weeks. The parents. 3 weeks. It reminds me of like Miley Cyrus's grandma. Remember? I don't know if anyone's a Miley Cyrus fan, but I remember it was kind of the same thing. 3 weeks, 1 week, I don't know. And like they were married the whole way through. It's crazy. Spoiler alert, kind of. For people like me who don't really know anything about this family, they didn't last the whole way through. But yeah. And his Army's great grandmother or yeah, something like that, was Christian Orthodox, which was what I was born as, or however you want to say it, because I'm Romanian. It's like, oh, yeah, kind of. But also interesting, like his association with her. No, it was just his grandmother. No, sorry. Yeah, great grandmother was that. And then his grandmother was the one person that Army Hammer was saying. Why am I saying his whole name? I don't know. I feel like Army is like too informal. But the one person that showed him that he felt unconditional love from with, and I thought, wow, this is like they are really mature throughout this whole series. It's like 2 parts throughout this whole 2-part video situation. I was moved at how mature and how they talk like adults, because my family does not do that. Even if I would go even more into like being healed and all that stuff, and not have the issues that we have with each other. I don't imagine like the way that I've seen my family as a whole be. There's like topics of like you cannot talk about. Um, Not that it's like prohibited, but like just you just don't. It's uncomfortable even thinking of talking about it, or just how you like talk to each other. But yeah, I was kind of surprised that he said that in front of his mom, and his mom really kept her cool. She is one super completely chill cucumber woman. this this Drew Hammer, she is a tough cookie. I think people say, I have been watching The Housewives of Beverly Hills, and they say that a lot. She is one tough cookie. She is actually kind of inspirational in some ways. But yeah, um, it was interesting. I don't think I've felt unconditional love ever. That's a very personal side note, unrelated, unimportant in this whole video. Um, Unless you want to let me know if you have. Um, Radical honesty in familiar relationships is not easy. Yeah, that could be that could be why they're able to talk like this. I have to watch it. Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool. Especially because of so, and especially as you go through the video, and then it starts off on such a religious note, and I think it's not just like my impression and my like correlation, but just how she talks about things. It I think that's mainly where I was like kind of shocked at how and what they were able to talk about. And yeah, it was like pretty cool. But yeah, what else did I write here? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I wrote the craziness of irony of repeating our history, like as people. His dad had an affair and then sat her down to talk about it when she kind of found out again. I mean, I don't know. I now I'm wondering, like, did she make all of this up? Because this is just like crazy. Like, the things that she's saying happened are literally, I kept thinking she was in Dallas because because of how she's dressed and how she looks and her age. And I remember, and I think because they were in Texas, in Austin, I think they moved at one point or something, or Dallas. Maybe they did go to Dallas. I don't know, somewhere in Texas, and then moved to Cayman Islands. But maybe that's why. But she also dresses like a character from Dallas. But it just sounds just crazy. I'll let you be, I don't know, entertained, shocked. Maybe you won't be shocked by how it happens that she finds out. But the craziness of ironies, the way that her dad or his parents, like his dad cheated on her, had an affair, he then sat down with his mom to talk about it, is exactly how Armie Hammer talks about handling his own affair. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy and ironic. And then later, just a tiny bit later, he says the exact same thing. And I know that's like not a big deal, but I have known and noticed and seen a lot of people not catch on to those, or at least not acknowledging things like that. So, but I think that's not, his style with this podcast, anyways. But yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm glad that glad that he noticed, or not noticed, but also like stated that. Um, and eh, then she said, it's such a mom thing. You got all your acting abilities from me because of how she handled that whole affair period. I don't know when they divorced. If I think I'm pretty sure they divorced. His dad also passed away, but eventually. But um, yeah, I don't know how that happened, but it is kind of crazy what women, I think more in the past. I don't know. Maybe. I think now there's more variables. People can approach things in multiple ways, like go to therapy or have other conversations. What was the unconsciously or consciously uncouple or whatever, which is how I named my, it was like my inspiration for my name for my coaching practice or whatever you want to call it. It's not really a practice, but whatever. And they can also do this where they, I mean, there's so many different ways to say it, but yeah, I just felt like that was such a mom thing to say. I am so like all over the place with this. And then because also this is not like a subject that I know, I would just was inspired by this video. I don't know why. And then yeah, Army recognizing the patterns repeating. And then they talk about therapy and his dad, and it was really actually nice to hear. This is why, like, I mean, I don't dislike her. Like, people who are overly religious or tied to their religion or faith or whatever, like their belief that they want you to also believe in, are really hard for me to be around or listen to. And I do have my own preconceptions of, and I feel like they have their limits to, honestly, to compassion, to empathy, to open mindedness. And the thing that was like really interesting, what I was saying earlier, that was interesting for me in this in these episodes, was that she is very close minded on this one particular topic. She really believes in this, and she's not budging from that. But sh- uh, she has some open mindedness even in that. And one of the things that I really appreciated was uh, her acknowledging that back in those days, therapy was not something that you did. And I think also that's why maybe a lot of people found their place in religion and in church, because there were pastors that they could talk, or like priests or whatever, that they could talk about. And I feel weird saying that because of his story, and talking about that in this context is kind of strange to talk about priests. But like that was kind of the therapy back then. And therapy was, it's not an old practice. It's what I think it was in our, was it in our century, or it wasn't like that long ago, at least as the way that it is now. Psychology. And yeah, back then, like many of us or know, even from our own cultures, um it was, if you go to therapy, you're like crazy, and it's like a last resort, and it's a huge stigma. And a lot of it was like, just pray on it. Just, for her, it was like the word of God. That's where she finds peace and solace. um because I wrote, it's, that's not therapy though. Someone told me something when I asked this question. Okay, like some people are really adamant about religion being their therapy, religion being the way that they heal, or that they work through problems or things. And I don't remember how they said it exactly, but basically they were saying, like, yes, like meditation, religion, all these things that kind of calm you, or like bring you to a place of awareness, or openness, even um humbleness. That's like all good, but it's very surface level. It doesn't go down into the, like, the roots of the problem, to like help heal that. And um it's kind of more like, they didn't say like a bandage, but kind of, right? Like if you put like ointment, or like a bandage, band-aid, whatever, and you're not like, but you're infected and you need to take antibiotics, kind of that kind of thing. Like this can help, but it's not going to like fully heal you. And so that was like my point with that. But she is really adamant about that, but also recognizes that um she, looking back, if she knew what she knows now, and I don't know if she means like about his dad, or about um therapy, or how we think now in today's day, um she would have definitely got him to therapy. And the way that she talks about that, I think I wrote it somewhere, maybe not, but she talks, it's still so like forceful, so like controlling of the situation, like old school wife kind of idea that we, it's interesting because when there's like these two conflicting images that I feel like are the cliche, like not housewife, but the 50s, 60s, 70s, I don't actually know when she was they were together, kind of wife, is either the very like airhead, but not necessarily on purpose, but made into that. Just cooking, very like husband centered, focused, etc. Then there's also the housewife that, or the wife that, I forgot, my dog is here. I just heard her like sniffle. That is very overpowering and kind of controlling the household, including the husband, but in a very different look to it. She's not the one that goes out there and makes the money and all that stuff, although she was. But it's more like it's regardless of that. I don't know how to say it. I don't, and I say that because I don't, that doesn't sit well with me. I don't really, I want compassion and I want equality and I want, you know, to see more partners, more husband, wife, 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 husband, husband, whatever, more partners be treat each other with like equality and no one like overpowering the other because like I know better. You're going to do what I say, or like I would because I think she said something like I would have put him through like just like there was no way he had a choice kind of thing. And on the other hand, I also kind of I'm like, oh, that's interesting to feel that comfortable with someone, but I also think that kind of like breaks relationships. It's like it ends up building resentment even if it's like under the surface. It's relatively new. Yeah. Was that the therapy thing that I was saying, or what were you referring if not that? um but yeah, anyway, so then they go back to the Bible thing or something, or I go back to it. Because oh yeah, because he mentioned religious or religion. She's like, I'm not religion. I don't like religion. I don't do religion. And I'm like, really? Well, but um, or like therapy, or I forget what. Oh gosh, these were bad notes. This is like a lesson to me. But I wrote like religion is man's way. Um, but then she gives like all these Bibles written by men, but she doesn't see this as religion. I don't know, it's just so interesting because, again, being spiritual and not religious was how we used to talk about it back in my college days. Everyone suddenly was, I think agnostic was the word that I learned. But yeah, spiritual and not religious was like, you kept hearing that pop up. And that's if she's spiritual and not religious, I don't understand the whole Bible situation. But I also think when we would say spiritual, not really, when I said that, it was the first time that I kind of took a step back from religion. And, but I believed still in God. And it's not that I don't believe in God now. It's complicated right now. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's like I'm just like it's one of those like things that still perplex me after watching this. They didn't go, I feel like, enough for me to understand into why. I wish she would have talked a little bit more. And he kind of cut her off as to why she doesn't like religion and she doesn't consider this what she does, etc., as religion. um but yeah, then maybe I'll say like the next note. um oh yeah, this was like an interesting point. I think like what interested me about this was faith, spirituality, religion. It kind of fascinates me because sometimes people say the same thing with different words, and sometimes there's a lot of like hypocrisy that I feel, um, or just like a lack of understanding, a lack of like more like they were indoctrinated because she says something like without a relationship with Christ, in her words, she would have ended up being an ex murderer or a drug addict or like an alcoholic. And I'm like, this is the problem that people equate religion to saving them from sin, from sinning, because without religion, they would do bad things. And to that, I would say I can say just fully that's false. If you feel like without religion you would do bad things, that's not religion saving you or because of religion. I truly believe that morality is not in religion, meaning like it's not rooted in religion, but it exists in religion. But that's because people are have morality. Um, and it does frustrate me when like religious people, faithful people, whatever, they don't separate those two, and especially with a kind of a sentiment like this, like, oh, I would be, a drug addict or an alcoholic or a murderer if I wasn't religious or if I didn't have this relationship with Christ. Also, my whole like issue with Christ is not God, and let's not get into that whole thing. But yeah, and yeah, that's all I kind of have to say about that at this point. But that's something that I so fully believe, and it's something that annoys me so much because it's almost like people haven't sat and actually meditated on that, actually prayed on that, actually like sat with that notion and thought and and posed questions for themselves and or to excuse me to God if you believe in God or whoever whatever. The other part was like she kept saying God as he and him, and that's whole. I'm not. I'm not the person that would say she either. Um, but I would feel like it's an it. It's like an energy. It's a being. It's something that is not human. So, uh, to me, it's not a gender kind of existence. It's an existence. Um, yeah, that's like at least how I view what people might say God, but I don't even like that word. I have a hard time with that word to this day. And I think Armie Hammer was saying the same thing, but for other reasons. And also, it seems like he has come, full circle back into being okay with that word. I'm still not okay with the word God. I can't unsee the man made nature that has been put onto God, especially when people say he, that just automatically makes God human. But anyways, um, and then I talk about, or then there's a point, whatever. Not every parent brings children into the world because they love them and want a relationship with them. Technically, we're just reproducing for the species. So, yeah, that was like another moment because she started explaining herself as to why she gives these Bibles to him and why it bothers her for him to like go towards meditation or towards like or having like Hindu, I don't even know, beliefs. I don't know. They didn't talk that much in detail at this point and on this topic. But kind of like from that came this no, like technically people don't have children, and not every person wants to have children that has children. And hopefully less and less people are put in that situation that know for sure they are not parents, they do not want to have children. um, and also even those that do want children and all that, like you feel the love, you have love for your child, and you have this bond that is your child. But I mean, gosh, I don't think that this is a science versus religion thing. Also, I don't believe that in that like separation either. I think science and religion can work together, and there's not a huge conflict 99% of the time. But on this, I also don't think that religion would say this, but I think both in religion concept and in science concept, we have children to reproduce, to keep humanity going. So those are my 2 cents on that. Like, yes, you love your child and children, and you know have that relationship with them as that unique relationship with them, but we're doing it to reproduce. We're doing it to keep humanity going because we are not immortal. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. That's the part that annoys me is Christ isn't God. The narrative explicitly states that Christ is God's son. That's how I grew up. And then I came to the US and suddenly, and also because I was Orthodox, Christian Orthodox, we don't believe that Christ is or Jesus is God. We have the Trinity. We do the cross also backwards, although I would say Catholics do it backwards and everyone else. Because also Orthodox were kind of like the way that, because I asked this a lot in high school because I'm like, what is the difference? Frame this for me, you know. And again, this priest kind of explained like, honestly, there's not much difference, but technically, like Orthodox Jews, Orthodox Christians, they're kind of like the most to the dot, to the, you know, like most not authentic, but oh gosh, like the oldest and most true to the initial religion, kind of. Although, you know, everyone says that. Um, and yeah, like Orthodox, we also, I just found this out. I didn't even really consciously understand this because I just kind of, I was born into, we weren't allowed religion for the first 5 years because we were under a dictatorship, but I was born into that culture that where almost everyone was Orthodox, Christian Orthodox. So, um, you know, you kind of just like, it's not even like here you have many different types of Christianity or religions. Like in Romania, it's just that. So you, everywhere you go is kind of imbued with that. So I didn't even know, but apparently we believe in fate. We believe in predetermination. But I always thought that like, because there is heaven and hell. So I didn't think like you're just like when you're born already you're either going to one or the other. And I don't think that's what we believe because we believe in sin and all that stuff. And by we, I'm not even, I still consider myself that as far as like, I'm always going to be Romanian. But I don't subscribe to this religion. I don't practice it. I don't believe. I guess, yeah, I'm not that, I don't know, whatever, but you know what I mean. So yeah, so predetermination, fate, etc. And also, yeah, that Jesus is Jesus. It's God's son. It's not God. And to that, praying to God and praying to saints, literally like, you know, you shall not pray to anyone but me or whatever, no false gods. And I remember like, I think I was out of high school, but I remember like we're learning the Ten Commandments because I think that's the Ten Commandment thing. We're learning the Ten Commandments or whatever. Was something that we were learning in high school about. And yet you're all praying to saints and you talk about saints, saint this and saint that, and pray to this saint for this, or the patron saint of this and whatever, and pray to Jesus and all this stuff. And I was like so confused. I was so confused. Aren't those false gods? Aren't those awesome song by the way from Taylor Swift? Aren't those? She should have a jazz-ish kind of album. False God with the saxophone was like such a good song. I deviate completely, but now I can't remember what I was saying. But something with yeah, like idols, right? Idols is what they were called in the Bible. So yeah, that's where I was coming from, but yeah, agreed. Nature, which speaks to me, is every sex humanly possible, woman, man, intersex, etc. If you believe in God, then you believe we are created in God's image. Yeah, that's a whole other thing. That pretty inclusive, in my opinion. Yeah, that's something else that I find interesting when you have religious people that are against transgender or even homosexuality. I'm like, but if God is perfect and we're created in God's image, and God created us. But then they come at me with, well, but the whole Apple scenario. Like, but, and she talks about, like, but people have free will. And then I'm like, I find it hard because, again, the viewpoint that I was born into was, no, there's fate. And also, like, if God is perfect and God created us and created this whole world, and I don't know, I just have a hard time. I remember being on this charity walk, and someone came up to me, maybe because I was like quiet, and they assumed that I would be like the perfect convert. Uh, Little did they know who they were messing with. But they came up to me and they started talking. We started talking, and I don't remember exactly what question I left them pondering, but they did not talk to me after that. But I basically asked them, like, okay, then what? Then what? Then what? You know? Um, but yeah, there's like these are things that, like, I feel, people of any religion, if you haven't sat down and accepted that there are holes, every religion, every belief system, my belief system, which is also in the works, it's a work in progress, it's in construction. Um, anything has holes because we don't know so much of the universe, period, and even of our own planet, even of our own, like, humanity. We barely even know how to communicate with each other and coexist in peace and love one another and make things work. I was reading this post on, like, Finland ending homelessness, and I'm like, I remember watching a documentary on YouTube. It's not exactly like that. They still have, I think, some homeless people, but basically it's almost non-existent because they give them, like, these free apartments or something, and then therapy, excuse me, and that helps most of them. I think 4 out of 5 they were saying, or 7 out of 8, or no, excuse me, something like that. And it made me think of the US and how little we actually help each other. And I don't even mean help the other, but even helping ourselves. We don't help ourselves. What do we do with, like, medical stuff? Nothing. We reward waiting until the last minute and then pumping ourselves with medication, hoping that we'll survive and make it better, instead of, catching it early on. I'm on this type of insurance right now, being unemployed, where I don't have preventative care, which you can get around it, sort of, um if you're, like, really in tune and aware of your body, you can say, like, hey, this is happening, whatever. But yeah, like, I haven't been to a physical in so long because I don't go that often anymore, but I used to go pretty often during the year. So if anything was, the basics were kind of covered, completely. Um but things aren't caught because people aren't. I'm going through physical therapy right now, and it's so frustrating. Are they treating me? No. They're treating one symptom, my hip or hips. And it's fair, but it's, like, what are we actually doing? We're not. I just feel like we have our priorities so wrong. And I would be curious to know, besides her passion for what I would also describe as converting people. I think the word she used was completion, completing people. Um, and the rest of us disagree. I mean, the rest of us, like me, but Armie and, like, other people, not everyone. Because they completed to what? We're incomplete, but I would argue religious people are incomplete because if they're not accepting of everything else, they're not complete, they're not whole. They're just, like, complete in this section, Um, but yeah, anyways, I'm, like, deviating, brain dumping. I lost myself. Um, but yeah, I believe that, like, I've had trouble understanding sometimes the mindset, like, um and the same thing with, like, different religions or different people believing different things, or, like, I don't know, like, maybe God made things go that way for that person. Maybe that's their journey for some reason. They're helping humanity through that, through not subscribing to this religion but to the other or whatever. You could see it that way. But I think she definitely takes it very personal for her immediate loved ones to be saved, because she really believes that's the only way to be saved and to go to heaven. And at the end of the day, none of us know that. We have no idea what's waiting on the other side, if anything. In some way, I guess maybe that's like really helpful to believe, to yeah, believe that so much that you're like, okay, I'm covered. I'm doing all of these things. I'm covered. Even if that's not the case, at least like in this lifetime, in this moment, you are at peace with that. But yeah, I don't really, once you get into, that's a whole bunch of other stuff. Once you get into like what are sins and all this stuff, it's just, it gets so nuanced. So nuanced. Moving on. Um, he, for a great portion, was talking, trying to like not confront her in a mean way. He was being so respectful of her throughout this whole thing. And at the same time, he was trying to express, and this was painful to watch, as someone who has struggled with people kind of dismissing me, dismissing her, and uh, even saying it like they're doing it for my own good or whatever. But he says that he's trying to like connect with her, and he says that he doesn't feel like they can truly connect, and that I think even throughout his whole life that she was his mom. It was more like she was his preacher, or whatever. And um he says like everything that comes up is an opportunity for you to talk about Christ instead of like getting to know people. And I'm kind of like mixing some things as I remember. It might not be exactly, time wise, like it might be like a few moments later. And yeah, gosh, yeah, it's a definite watch, especially if you're like conflicted or confused, or like you have these dynamics in your life with whether you are the religious person, or you have that with someone who's religious, where it's like they don't really get to understand that at the end of the day, it's much more important, even as someone who is religious, who is, doing the work of God, so to speak. Number one, I would feel, is to connect, to love, and to connect with that person, and to bond, and to, you know, and I think people sometimes miss that. And then she talks about that aunt, it was Casey, how she, sorry. I didn't have the yawns yesterday, and yesterday I had woken up at 6 a.m. And today I'm like so tired and so sleepy. She says that she led everyone to Jesus except for that one aunt, and did not appreciate that kind of sentiment. I don't know. I felt really odd and uncomfortable when she talked about it a few times, how she says she led everyone to Jesus, but I would say she basically converted his whole dad side of the family. um and they were Jewish. And I say this at one point, I'm like, they were like the originals as far as Christianity is concerned. Like the Bible literally is half Jewish, half Christian. And I don't know if half exactly, but you know what I mean. And if you believe that Christianity is like the next step up, at that point, why not get to the Baha'i faith? But it's like it's like stuck there. And I remember someone talking about Oh no, yeah, someone in my life that I knew briefly talking about how like they can't do that because they believe in like the second coming of Christ or whatever, and they don't accept that, you know, whatever the Baha'i guy is. So gosh, I don't remember Bahud. I forget his name. Um, but they don't accept that he is that. I don't know. I just feel like the Baha'i faith really ties everything together. I don't know. Maybe that's something to be wary of. I don't know, because it seems like really like a perfect package, very logical, tied with a nice bow. I don't know. And also, it's like rooted in growth and bettering humanity and being focused. Like your first purpose is bettering humanity. Like I don't know. I'm not Baha'i, so I don't really know more. And I know more than what I said, but I don't know everything. And then she talks about these demonic pagan gods that he has lying around, like Buddha or whatever, which Buddha I don't believe was a god, but God gave her two sons as a gift, and those gods cannot heal like God healed her. And she talks at one point about being healed from like a really bad disease and going on missions with her dad and seeing how I guess when they were converted, all these people around the world were healed like miraculously. And I have a hard time believing this part. I know, there's a lot in the Bible, Jesus healing the blind and whatever. Um, I don't know. I just have a hard time believing this. And people also say this about meditation, about other types of faith. So gosh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. But I then say, oh boy, this is exactly religious. The whole going around mission and like on missions to convert other people, and the idea that only God heals, only there's only that one God, and everything else is not, is one of like the main parts of like man-made religion, is like don't go anywhere else, this is it. And demonizing everything else, like she was saying words like demonic pagan gods. um then she said something that is close to the moment that I closed the door on on my religion. He's a jealous God. God is the Christian God. And I'm like, how is this okay? How is this the true God that does not sound like true God? And I literally remember sitting in church, and we were in churchgoers, and I wasn't there because I love church and I love the religion. I was there, I'd forget why we were there. So I was, I guess, already out the door with one foot out the door, but I was pretty like spiritual and at that time, and still after for a while. And I remember this like visiting priest or something. He started talking, reading from something, or talking, or preaching, whatever they do. I don't know, especially because in Romanian, I don't even know in Romanian, but it's a different word anyways. And I remember he said something about like, don't fear God. God is all good. God is love. Um, God does not punish. And I'm not kidding you. But in the next two sentences, I don't know if it was exactly the next sentence, in the next, like, in the same paragraph, he was talking about how we should fear God. And I'm like, what the heck is going, what did he, I think I actually for the first time looked around. I'm like, am I the only one who heard that? Like, I heard that, right? And that is when I was like, you know what? Men are screwed up. People are screwed up. Like, man made religion? No. And this is a man made religion because what? No. So I'll say that even now, like, I believe in what all religions kind of teach about their gods or God, that they are this all powerful force or existence. I just used that word for the first time on this live, and I kind of like it. And because being also kind of sounds too close to something that we can tangibly imagine. And this existence, this energy, um, is, yeah, all knowing, all whatever, and love. I really believe that love is really that. And love is not jealous. Love does not punish. Love is unconditional. And so, in that kind of world, you can argue whether there's heaven or hell, but this whole thing around like he's a jealous God, that should be like your own red flag, Drew. That should be your own red flag. That maybe you need to sit down with and not deviating from your religion or from your spiritual faith and belief, but maybe go deeper into it, because I don't believe that she actually would find this as an answer if she really lived out the faith. I don't know. I don't know. But that was like a big red flag to me. Saying that, not about her, but like, uh, if I would like explore or like be religious or whatever, like he is a jealous God is like, and that's a no no. That is to me impossible. Um, but yeah, and then she talks about maybe God is not a protector always. Um, I know he says this, and she says, but people have a choice. And that's also something that's a bit harder for me to wrap my mind around, like I said, because I was brought up with fate and you don't really have a choice. And the choice is at least ultimately up to God. And yeah, but I think people needed a way to understand why, like, bad things happen to like children, happen to good people, and so forth. So I think that's how they kind of came to this point of like humans have a choice, or we do have a choice, and there's no hell, because if you have a choice and you don't have all the facts, how can you get punished for something? I mean, there's consequences, but like there are consequences in this world oftentimes from things that we already know or that other people know for us, if that makes sense. I don't know. This is I don't know. And then they start talking about the horrendous experience that Armie had with a priest. And I'll obviously let him say his story and her say her story, or like her side to that. But the thing that was interesting was towards the end, they were talking about how, um, in the end, when people found out, it was really interesting the steps that were taken. And it was an interesting conversation to see them have as well. Because she says that they got that priest kicked out of the country because he was from South Africa. And I mentioned that because I'm like, what is wrong with South Africa? I mean, we know that in Catholicism, like there are a number of issues around this, but and my parents have a theory that because priests in Catholic Church they can't get married, and most other Christian faiths priests are married and they almost have to be married and have to have kids, so they know how life is. To lead, the people. But yeah, I've not heard of anyone good come from South Africa. I've not heard of anyone that's like normal, that has like I mean, some people might say has a good head on their shoulder, but really, anyone that's like normal, feel like they're just really strange people. And the only people that have come out of, and I don't know too much, I don't know anything about this priest, but the only people that came out of South Africa that were really nice were someone that everyone knows, Trevor Noah, and Sinjin, I think was his name from 90 Day Fiance. That man was a sweetheart. He was a big teddy bear and he was so nice. Oh my gosh, to his detriment, nice. But outside of that, like, it's just a bunch of messed up men. Men is more, I don't know. Like, you have Charlize Theron from South Africa. I don't know. She seems, well, I don't know. She has her stories. But yeah, it was interesting because he's like, "Well, great, you just like kind of shipped the problem somewhere else." She's like, "No, we actually alerted the police, we alerted his family and his church and all that stuff, but it also alerted the police there. And to her knowledge, they take care of things much stricter than here in the U.S. Here in the U.S., if they would have just called the police here, he would have been maybe in jail for like a couple years and then out and whatever, maybe had a record or something. But that's it. No one would really know. So that was like a really kind of fascinating insight to that mentality. It also kind of took me to the Paris Hilton of it, where her parents didn't know what was happening when they were sending her to this camp. And when they found out, they were like horrified. And it's really, I can't even imagine being a parent and finding things out that were right under your nose, kind of more or less, like her camp was further out, but still. And I can't even imagine that pain that will probably stick to any of these parents forever to, process and stuff. And there's forgiveness for themselves and from others, but it's rough. Yeah. Um, what did I write here? Oh yeah, and that they had after hours after mass, with the remaining priest, um, for anyone who was affected by this, the parents especially, of how to deal and how to heal and how to go through that afterwards. And then my next question came as, why do we have free will? If we're God's hands and feet and we're doing God's work, which she didn't say, but that's what people say. I feel like there's a disconnection of like this free will and we have a choice and so forth, but we're doing God's work and we are God. We are God's hands and feet. I personally have a disconnection. It wasn't really a big point, I guess, but it's here and I'm reading it. Um, People will fail us, but God will never fail us. And I had my petty moments for sure throughout this because I said, because God is a religious concept, or God as a religious concept is made up by humans, by us. Um, and not to mention the contradictions she even made in this video, but also just I constantly hear from Christianity. Um, and yeah, I think God fails us plenty, to be honest. Just like people. Just like people. And then this is the moment, I don't know when in the video, but this is the moment where he mentions the Borg. And and I say he won my brain. Because it wasn't like how people say it won my heart. It wasn't so much the heart, it was like the brain. Because yeah, I don't know, Star Trek. But I've equated the Borg as really society, American society, especially any kind of society notion or practice of not thinking for yourself. The other comparison I would say with what I've talked about often as the Borg is the movie, the Bee Movie with Jerry Seinfeld as a bee. It's a cartoon movie, but it's a must watch for adults. And that's basically I'm him. I'm Jerry Seinfeld's bee character, and but struggling. I'm not as successful as he was. Um, but yeah, I love that he equated this whole religion concept of like everyone has to become this religion that I am to the Borg. And I don't think she appreciated that, or maybe even like truly got that, because I don't think she watched Star Trek. I don't know. But um yeah, the Borg is everywhere. Star Trek, if you haven't watched it, especially, I feel like the older Star Trek. I watched Next Generation, but I also loved Voyager. Deep Space Nine was kind of a later understanding, and it was boring for me as a child. But especially having someone to explain it, how it's a metaphor. There's so many metaphors for society and American society most of the time, about racism, about um, otherism, honestly. And yeah, I think the Borg is a great example for so many different things, for anything where you're trying to be assimilated and to not have your own brain and your own choice and your own thinking and that freedom. And it's in politics, especially now. It's like whatever side you're on, you have to believe certain things. You have to like say certain things. You have, some sort of group mind, group think, in religion, in etc. But I think what's a little less in politics right now than in right now, in people in politics just like go at each other. Whereas in religion, I think there's still somewhat of like, come to my side, come this way. Um, but yeah, so he talked about the Borg, and yeah, and then I have this point of like, can we talk about how the Bible is like, you know, built upon Judaism? So it's really odd to me that she converted a bunch of originals, Jewish people, to Christianity, which was a sect when it came up at the beginning. And then when, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, I hate that I wrote this in part because this was such a great point. But he says like, when purpose of your faith becomes changing other people, and it was something like, isn't that kind of off? Isn't that missing the importance of actually connecting with those people? So I think they were, yeah, he's said that if every person you meet is an opportunity to introduce them to Jesus, you're not truly connecting with them. You're not connecting genuinely to them. It's always about, one day you'll come around, and he talks about how his dad or her dad, would say, um, why are people sorry, would say, at least from his memory or his understanding, would go up to anyone at the gas station, whatever, whoever he would meet, he would introduce himself. It was kind of like the people that come to doors, like, hey, have you heard about religion? Have you, about Jesus Christ? What are those people? Jehovah's Witnesses, but they're not Jehovah's Witnesses. But it was kind of that same sort of thing from what Armie was kind of demonstrating. That was like this sales funnel, like, hey, what's your name? Where are you from? What church do you go there? Oh, you don't go to church. Have you heard about this or whatever? And it's like this if then kind of maze. And I don't know. I think this is why I was like, I want to be friends with this dude. Because I'm like, oh my gosh. This is like, I would love to talk about. Like, this is the stuff I love to like ponder on and discuss and like not just religion, but like this philosophical stuff. I just go down these rabbit holes. And yeah, and this is, I guess, why I thought at the end of this, like, oh, I should talk about this on video, because it's something that I love. So yeah. And then he also points out, like, to her, it's completion. It's no one can change anyone, but then also no one can complete anyone, but that's more therapy. We're all whole, we're not parts of each other, and codependence. But I said also, if completion is your thing, why is she not onto the Baha'i faith? Because that's a few steps, I think, after Christianity even. And then um this was like pretty, like, not sad, because he's really, I think he's really okay, and you can see that. But moving, or one of those moments, because he said, as her son, he feels like he's not enough, and that he's not really seen by his mother. There's not a maternal relationship. It's kind of like, and he didn't say it this way, but because in Meisner, we go through these questions, like when we're trying to guess the relationship of two people that we just saw. Um, and it's one of the questions is like, it's professionalism. The questions are like, are they family or whatever? Are they chosen family, like friends or lovers? Or is there professionalism? Are they professionals with each other? And then that's kind of what he was explaining. It kind of feels like she's always about the business of it, the religion being a business. Honestly, it's like you have to accomplish certain things, you have to become, to go, to do, to whatever. It's not really about just like being, and I feel like I wrote from my perspective what he was describing as like talking to a wall. And then I didn't complete my sentence of think of generations of, and I don't know when I kept writing. But yeah, I think we all have that with everyone in our lives. There's that one thing, each person is different, probably, that one thing or multiple things, or one area where it feels like you're talking to a wall. That because he tried to say it from so many different angles and so many different times and at so many different opportunities. He felt like, oh, maybe now she'll understand or hear me. And she kept going back to religion, and he kept saying, but can you go back to what I was saying? Can you relate it back to that? He said that, I think, 3 or 4 times. And I think it was around this time, which is towards the end. And she kept like not getting it. I don't know if in the end, she did answer his question, but that was, as someone who loves having the empathy that I have, and works on having empathy even more, or so forth, um and connecting with, I mean, connection is one of my top values. This is why I love doing the lives, and why I want more people on the chat. And this is why this is so much more important. And when I was doing vlogs, I was like, what can I do to actually have people be here and interact with people, and not just me, talking or presenting or making a movie or whatever. That's all fun sometimes, but most of the time I want to connect. Like, that's why lives are so, like, my number one. And it's also one of my biggest, not the biggest, but one of my biggest wounds is this lack of connection, this lack of but connection in the sense of empathy, where other people are refusing to be empathetic, but they're more sympathetic. They're more like coming from a place where this is what I would do, you know, and I'm not going to spend time to actually meet you where you're at and sit with you and empathize with you. I'm going to sympathize. I'm going to look down on you. Is one of my biggest kind of struggles, especially now, actually. I'm going through it right now. Um, and when you're trying to communicate that with someone and they're just not even willing to get curious and understand you and work on your relationship, and it's still kind of their way or the highway, and take it or leave it, if you don't love it, go away. That's not what she was doing, and that's not my situation right now either. But um it's hard. It's hard. And yeah, gosh, I don't know. I don't have this relationship with my mom. I have whole bunch of other issues, but not this one because she's not religious. But I can relate as far as like feeling like she doesn't love me the way that I need love, and she doesn't support me the way that I need support, and she doesn't meet my needs in the way that I need my needs met. And I'm not talking that she has to meet my needs. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that she wants to help, or she wants to do this, or like whatever, but she's doing it for her, and she doesn't realize it because she thinks she's doing it for me, but she's not doing it for me because she's not meeting me where I'm at, and she's not really acknowledging who I am, and doesn't even get to know me. And so I related to him. Have a good night. No more South Africans. Yeah. Yeah. No. Um, have a good night, P. I'll see you Friday. Friday, hopefully. Friday live. But yeah, I'm almost done. You won't have too much to catch up on. But thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I appreciate the company and the thoughtful conversations, or yeah, kind of. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that's what I was saying. Like that I can relate. I kind of feel his pain, and I don't mean that, like I said, I think he's done a lot of work, and he says that he's in a very good place, and he felt quite leveled and not triggered, but who knows what was inside. But you can see that he's done a lot of work, and he's coming from like being able to have this conversation with her, and even if she's not hearing him, like he's okay, he can take that and be okay. But so I don't mean to belittle him or belittle his experience or whatever, but I can't think of another word. But yeah, I can definitely connect to this point a lot in a different way. But yeah, it's something that like I've had, even like conversations or discussions, not conversations, discussions, um over like, because I was told, like, when I would say like kind of makes me emotional. I would say, to my partner that like it hurts that my mom or my dad or a friend or whatever, or even him, like that they don't love me like the love that I need. And because I had like this open conversation with him, but I think this is what everyone else would say too. He was like, but they love you how they can love you. And why is that not enough, or that why is that not good? And I'm like, how is this even like how do we not understand? How are we not on the same page? How can you not understand? Like I don't feel like if I love you the way that I want to be loved and the way that I can love you, and it's not how you need, it's incomplete. It's not. I wouldn't want that. I would feel like a failure. Um because it's not about me. How you are loved, you feeling loved is not about me. It's about you. So you need to feel loved from me. So you need to tell me how you need to feel, what you need in order to feel loved. And I didn't say it this clearly back then. This was like a few years ago, obviously, um, but this concept is, yeah, it's an important one. That's why I'm like spending so much time on this, because um, it kind of frustrates me, the few, I don't know if I've even met people who are in this, like exist in this concept of, I'm um interestingly, I think my one therapist who was a pastor, um but I think my one therapist, even though I couldn't say like I had examples of this, but um I feel like I had unconditional acceptance from him, like, and that, I wasn't religious and he clearly was. He was a pastor. And yet, um, I didn't feel judged. I didn't feel like I needed to be anything else. And I felt like I was really met where I was, and not just in religion, but like we would go over time where I would be late and I never felt punished, you know? And so, like, through those, even though those weren't literally, loving me as my parent or as my partner or as my friend or whatever, it still was showing me how unconditional love can exist, how it can, and that it is there, that it exists. Um, and being seen, and I think even like watching Dr. Kirk Honda um, on YouTube, and just throughout the recent years doing the attachment theory things and having coaches practice on me and and vice versa. Like, I think this has been more, I've become more and more aware that you can love someone where they're at, what they, in how they need, and you can take the time, and you are able to see them for who they are and accept them for who they are, and you don't need to change them, and you can connect to them. And I'm working on doing that for myself, providing that for myself in a moment where I'm lacking people like that in my life, um, where it's like a challenge now, I guess, where I'm like, but I know it exists because I've been shown that. I've been shown that you can sit down with someone, and regardless of what you believe in, regardless of how you feel like, sorry, I'm very random emotion. I just got a flashback. I was talking about this like a few lives ago. Sorry. Um, this is like a moment where I feel like I've taken, steps into doing that. Oh gosh, I feel like so embarrassed, like crying right now. Can't really stop it. It's coming, guys. it's just coming out. Um, I expressed how much it bothered me that, in years ago, when, you know my ex and I started going out, he vaped, and it sent me actually into crying. And I, later on, it just like, it really bothered me, like she has expressed, wanting the best for her son, and wanting her loved ones to be saved, to, do the right things, to be okay, and be happiest, and be healthiest, and be the best. And I think I struggled so much with this concept of like, because I grew up with that same concept of like you control the ones you love. When you see destructive behavior, you try to make them see it by force almost. And or I wasn't even by force, like I couldn't control I would start crying. But then I would control the crying, or I would be not crying, but then I would just get so mad, so hurt. And it was a combination also of like obviously judgment, that just the frustration, that how it affected me also, that this person wasn't dealing with their issues and instead they were like trying to escape their issues, and that it affected us because instead of you know handling the things that needed to be handled, we were like brushed under the rug and smoked away and drank away, and they weren't going away. They wouldn't ever go away that way. And it was also not just damaging us and affecting us and, you know, causing me eventually pain, but also physically damaging to this person that I loved. And this is like, not a transformation, but like a growth moment for me, that I actually was thinking about this recently, that um, I actually accepted their drinking and vaping, smoking, whatever. I accepted it. Like how sometimes people say, and I think this is actually a religious people that are religious say this, but like you send them with love. Um and it wasn't that like, I send them away with love, but like this kind of like vision of like, this is really bad for you and it's also bad for us, but I love you so much that I accept you where you're at. And I don't know, I'm proud of myself for that. But it's not easy to do. Most of the time, friends, family, um, as I learned from Dr. Kirk Honda, they're doing it from a place of feel like, in the psychology sense of it, like they're uncomfortable. It makes them uncomfortable seeing you in pain. It hurts them to see you hurting. And all they know is you need to stop hurting. So I'm going to yell at you to stop hurting. I'm going to, you know, force you to stop hurting. That's where you get people that who's like significant others, whether, whatever, family, loved ones, like just stop being depressed. Just get up, just go to work, just go work out. You'll feel better. Like they're trying to give all this advice because they themselves cannot handle seeing you in pain, because they push their own pain probably away. And instead of dealing with, they just kind of brush it off, and they get mad at you because you're not brushing your pain off or whatever. And or like there's multiple things, but I feel like it comes from that. I haven't really deviated completely from this point, sorry, but really went down the rabbit hole of it. Um, it's hard. That's all I'm saying. It's hard, and it's hard. But I feel for him. I feel for anyone who feels like this, which is probably most of us. Um, that's the one thing I believe, that every single person on this planet, you can't really say much about everyone wanting, needing, etc. one thing, but I believe that this one thing applies to every single person. Every single person on this planet wants to be safe, no matter if any other value, any other need, any other thing is different. That's the one thing we can all agree on. We want to be safe and we want to be loved. And love is like a weird concept. When I think about that in this sense of what I'm trying to say, it's like we want to be seen, we want to be accepted, we want to be enough, we want to not be dismissed or changed. We want to be able to be ourselves, and the people that love us and we love, we definitely want them at least to feel that way with us, to accept us, to love us. And that's, to me, but not to everyone, I think, I don't know, to me that's like one of my biggest work in progresses. That's my biggest challenge. Yeah. I don't know how I'm going to get through that challenge. But anyways, moving on, because I feel like I'm starting to go into circles. She was talking about, oh yeah, because he said that as a son, he doesn't feel like he has this connection, this like relationship, maternal relationship with her, not enough for her, not seen by her. And she's like, well, I'm sorry that I wasn't like the fun mom to go to parties with you and do drugs with you. And I screamed like this is the problem. But what I meant, it was, I mean, that's what I meant. Kind of, but I was like, oh my gosh, that is not what he was saying. And he also said that's not what he was saying. That is not what anyone would say when they say from a very genuine, very self aware place, a place where you understand that place when you have done the work, whether you go to therapy or not, but you really go inwards, and whether you find it through religion or through like psychology or both or whatever, when you're that deep with yourself, you're able to say these things. But I think to people that haven't gotten there, it feels foreign or maybe even as an attack. And it's like, oh, okay, well, if not this, then that. It's like, no, there's like all the gray area in between. And honestly, like, yeah, like he's really not saying at all. I don't believe this. I don't believe that he's saying anything about like her, doing anything specific other than just loving him unconditionally and not trying to change him about anything. And what they were talking mainly was religion. And it's not about like, doing drugs or partying or like, sleeping with people or like whatever. It's not. I think like, I don't know. I think you guys understand. I don't really, I'm kind of at a loss of like, did I say it? Am I just trying to like say something that I already said and that he has already said? But yeah, it's something so pure when someone asks to be seen or says that they're not feeling seen by you. It's something, and that they're not enough. It's something that is so pure that is not of like the material world, which I would, I guess, for this sake, for this purpose, would include parties and drugs and relationships and all that stuff. Um, yeah. Um, at our core, we're not those things. To be seen and to be enough, actually, oftentimes, if not kind of like that's where those things come from, is when people don't feel like they're enough. I've talked about narcissism. I've talked about different attachments and how when people do destructive behavior or behavior that's um, kind of inflated, like I'm the best or I want the best or like I want people to tell me I'm the best or whatever, and deviations of that, it comes from a feeling of not being enough. And if you love someone and you remind them that you love them and it comes from a genuine place, um, it's not about not showing them the way to, a certain religion path or whatever. It's separate. Religion also is not who a person is. Um, it's yeah, it's something so much more fundamental than any of it, you know. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Who am I to try to explain this? No one. Um, and I say, yeah, religion, faith, God is not the reason we have morality or why we are moral. We have kindness or are kind, etc. And I, in my experience, was kinder, more loving, and a better Christian or whatever religion you want after I stopped being religious, after I stopped praying, after I stopped doing things out of fear or out of a rule book. And I just connected to the one thing, which is love. That's all. That's it. Things coming from love, things being about love, and kindness, compassion, whatever, deviations of that, whatever, like, semantics. Um, but yeah, my experience, I was a lot more kind and more moral once I stopped being religious. So, my 2 cents for whatever it's worth, which is not much, but there you go. Um, um, Apparently, there was a definitely good point as far as talking about what is our number one priority. I don't know. You have to watch it. You have to watch this video towards the end because I don't remember why I wrote that at all, or where that was in the video. And then definitely goals to be able to sit as patient and untriggered, or sorry, or maybe, like I said, maybe he was triggered, but just as patient and as calm as he was in the face of something that has been clearly a trigger in the past for him, for me, for a lot of people. Religion is a big one that triggers a lot of people, especially when it comes from your own family or partner, the people that you really need that unconditional love from. And it's coming from a very like, I need to change you. I need to like, yeah, it's interesting. It's so interesting. It's the attachment style coach in me is like, oh my gosh, this is so fascinating. So fascinating. How do you resolve something like that? How do you resolve two people that are kind of they love each other, but the communication is like not not getting through, you know? It's almost as if they think they're saying the opposite. Um yeah, I don't know. And then the part two, I don't think I actually finished. Um, but I love there's like this awesome part. She's like answering questions from like the public through his producer or something like that. Anyways, but yeah, she's like uh God, I don't know what this was, but she said they would have nailed you, pardon the pun. And I just was like, who's the fun mom now that she was saying that? Sorry, I wasn't a fun mom. But that was like, that was a priceless fun mom moment. Um, and then she talked about how these girls that ended up accusing him stayed at her house. They even stayed together at her house, I think, at least one of them or something. And um, it was so shocking, I guess, to her. I don't know what word she used when these stories and these women started coming out, because she was describing like, I met you, I know you, like this is so odd, this is like so different, what are you talking about? And like one of the moms even sent her a basket saying thank you for how, you know, kind your son was or whatever to my daughter, like before all of this. Although that's not really saying much now, with our Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni legal drama hat on, we know that, things can be taken in a number of different ways. Either the mom didn't know, the mom knew, the mom and or the daughter like just saw him as this movie star, and sometimes people say things like that because of that, to like be like on the appreciated side or whatever. If I forget the term, or because it was that way, or maybe because the mom, that's all that the mom knew and didn't know other stuff. Like, you could go in so many different directions. So I don't know that I would say that's proof of anything, but her experience with these women, or the women that she has met, is a more direct proof or experience, that is interesting. And then, oh, she talks about this other guy after his dad, and that was like a beautiful story. I'll let you see in part 2 of his video if you want to watch. I guess you don't have to. I would highly recommend, but it's a lot. um and I love this like normalcy difference, like the way that she talks about like the name drops that she has, and just the things that she sometimes says. Like, this guy, like, he was going to Florida to buy a plane, and the way that she says that, so like that's normal. And I don't think she's like arrogant about it or not humble as a person. I'm saying just like it's a shock, like, oh my gosh, we have such different realities of normal. It's not here, it's neither here nor there. It's not like good or bad, it's just so different. It was like, whoa. um and then he talks about the beach ball theory, where I've not heard of it this way, but I'm definitely going to borrow that too, where like you try to stuff who you are, or the things that make you you, or the things that you've like put on that have become you, or whatever. You try to stuff those down, and like a beach ball underwater, it just like shoots back up even higher up, and then and like lands on the water, and like even, and I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I've always heard the like you go to one from one extreme to the other to find your middle, like a pendulum. But that's a good metaphor with the beach ball. And yeah, and that's kind of all that I have, which is, this is not going to be a popular video. Um, I think my dog just like got up and looked at me like, "Are you still going?" So I'm going to go. I like that I'm, signing off nowadays relatively early at like 11:30. Gives me some time to, wind down into my thing, watch some shows or whatever's, and and just like kind of transition into like sleep mode. But yeah, if you watched this far, seriously, comment below a beach ball, please. Is that even an emoji? Is a beach ball an emoji? Who knows? Maybe find that out. But okay, it's not. Sorry. Um, well, comment a beach emoji, whichever one you want. I love the little umbrella on an island. Yeah, I don't know. Just comment below, because I really want to know. I don't know. Is that like selfish of me? Yeah, I guess it is selfish of me, but I recognize that this is not an interesting one. And even as I started, I was like, why did I think I wanted to talk about this? It was so interesting to me, but I think it was like more of like a topic interest, and I didn't need all the notes. But the way I was going through it, I was just so like nervous or in my head about this, that I was like, okay, I'll just follow the notes. I don't remember. And also because it wasn't, I guess, fresh in my mind. Um, but yeah, I think that, it was like these things that led me to think about things that, I was like either curious about or have my own opinion about or whatever. So yeah, pointless video, but here you go. Definitely go watch his any of his podcast episodes. But definitely this is, I think, an interesting. It's a two-parter, but yeah, I think it's an interesting one. And yeah, see you Friday for what is it? Chill and chat time. Uh, I think I'm going to do a little bit more than chilling and chatting because I've been slacking this week. But we'll see. And I hope you have a great evening. Cool. I need to find my cursor. um, oh, I know what to do here. Yeah.